Yeah, hi friends. Today we are going to discuss on three farm related legislations that are brought by the Parliament of India. I think we are aware the entire Punjab and Haryana farmers are on the streets of Delhi, and all the political parties have taken sides on this issue, and now the most of the farm related organizations are against to these legislations. They are considering it as something anti farmers. So in this circumstance, we need to understand what are the three farm related legislations and what is the content in that, why actually they have brought, what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages, is it really going to help? If yes, how? Then why the farmers are agitating, what are their concerns? So we need to discuss all these issues. But these legislations were brought as an ordinance, and initially it was announced during the Atmanirbhar package when the union government has announced the packages in the month of April. Later it was issued through an ordinance, and in the last parliament session they have approved by both the houses of the parliament and they have received the assent of the president of India. So now we're looking into the analysis of these three legislations. And here you need to have a logical understanding and also a comprehensive analysis of these three bills. Okay, in explaining these three bills, uh, I'll go by the question and answer type. I myself put some questions and I'll try to answer to that question so that you will get the comprehensive idea, and also at the same time you will have some concrete idea. Okay, first of all, what are three farm related legislations? What are three farm related legislations? Three farm related legislations are related to, majorly first one related to trade and commerce of agricultural produce. Second one is contract farming. Third one is about amendment of Essential Commodities Act of 1955. Now in this first one is Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Act 2020. These are the acts actually passed by the parliament. So what is this Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Act? In this, an ecosystem has created where farmers and traders enjoy the freedom to sell and purchase the farm produce outside the registered APMC mandis. So under this, both farmers and traders have a freedom to sell or to procure from the outside the registered APMC mandis. This is the gist of first legislation. Next one, the bill on contract farming is the Farmer Empowerment and Protection Agreement of Price Assurance and Farm Services Act 2020. So what is this? In this, farmers can enter a contract with agribusiness firms, processors, wholesalers, exporters, and large scale retailers. Now the farmers can directly make an contract or can enter into an arrangement with these groups directly. This facility is actually not available earlier. Next, third one, Essential Commodities Act Amendment Act. Under this, pulses, cereals, oil seeds, edible oils, potato, onion has removed from the purview of Essential Commodities Act. That means now there is no restriction on the production, storage, transportation, or any processing on these items by the union government. I'll come to the details of these legislation in the later part of discussion. What is the existing agricultural produce procurement system in the country? Prior to these legislations, there was an APMC, Agricultural Produce Market Committee legislations are there in various states. APMC, that means Agricultural Produce Marketing Committees or the agricultural procurement is under the state list of 7th schedule of Constitution of India. States are empowered to make a legislation on this issue. So different state governments has made different legislations on this APMC acts. According to APMC, the state government, state territory is divided into different geographical areas, and each and every different geographical area comes under a particular APMC committee. Under that, there is a regulated markets are appointed by the state government, and there are some traders, license holding traders, they used to procure. And a farmer from one particular APMC should not supposed to enter into other APMC. That means the freedom of the farmer to sell or the freedom of the trader to procure agricultural produce is limited to only a particular geographical area, that is APMC. But later in the year 2003, a model APMC has brought. They have removed some relaxations and they have given some sort of freedom to the farmers. And later, Union government has brought ENAM, that means Electronic National Agricultural Market. Under this ENAM, again some more relaxations has given. Finally, now some states, around 17 states, have amended their APMC into some extent, but it is not something like a wholesale repealing of APMC. If you take the non-food grain market, almost all the states have relaxed the APMC. But as far as the food grains are concerned, some states still maintaining some sort of restrictions over that. And there is a one state called Bihar, which they have repealed this APMC completely in the year 2006. This is the existing mechanism. Some states have already amended and to some extent they have liberalized, but still that APMC is continuing. The present day APMC is somewhat liberal compared to the previous APMC, where there are a lot of restrictions are available. Now, even in the present system, there is a lot of restrictions for both the farmers and as well as the traders to sell and to procure the food grain from a particular geographical area. Why it took this much time to bring reforms? This reform is about liberalizing the agriculture sector. Unfortunately, agriculture sector is a private business in our country. Like individual farmers will do that activity. As far as their procurement is concerned, the government or a state used to control the entire procurement activity. We have liberalized our economy in the year 1991 with the LPG reforms, but similar reforms in the agriculture sector. That means farmer and the trader don't have enough freedom to sell their produce or to purchase the produce from any place wherever they want. Why actually it has taken this much amount of time means because of lack of political consensus. Lack of political consensus. And in our traditional societies, people have lot of apprehensions about this privatization and liberalization. And moreover, this is a state subject, and until and unless if you convince the states, perhaps it is not possible for the union government to bring such reform. Now it has ripened to a level where it has necessitated for the government to bring these reforms. At the same time, the present day government is also maintaining a comfortable majority both in the required number of states and as well as the parliament. That is why they have brought these reforms now. Agriculture sector overview. Before you understand the three farm related legislations, you must have an idea of agriculture sector in our country. There are many things that we can look into, but the required details I'll try to present here. The total amount of food grain production, that means it includes cereals, both coarse grain, pulses, oil seeds, which includes the food grains. The total food grain production in India is around 285 million tons per annum. 285 million tons per annum. In that, rice itself consisting of 117 million tons per annum. Wheat 103 million tons per annum. That means almost 120 million tons, sorry, 220 million tons out of 285 million tons is only rice and wheat. Apart from pulses, 24, apart from that, pulses are 24 million tons, coarse cereals 43 million tons, oil seeds 32 million tons. Why actually I have given this figure is you can understand the level of diversity of agricultural produce in India. It is mostly dominated by rice and wheat. If you take the case of the share of agriculture sector in GVA is 16.5%. The share of agricultural GVA in our total GVA is 16.5. In that, actually that GVA 16.5 is agriculture and its allied activity. We call it as primary sector. In that share of crops, because agriculture and its allied sector includes other activities like animal husbandry, dairy, poultry, and other things. But only share of crops is something 10% of GVA. That includes all the food grains and oil seeds pulses, whose worth is about 20 lakh crore. 20 lakh crore worth of agricultural food grains we are producing. You will understand the relevance of these figures during the course of discussion. And our exports, if you're really looking into the different food grains, it is very minimal, and our share in the world market is something around 2.15%. Consistently we are maintaining the same thing. We are unable to, despite of half of the population is depending on agricultural activity, and almost uh, in the last 60 years, after so many reforms and after so many revolutions, unfortunately we are unable to capture the world market. And when it comes to the exports and imports, we are the net exporter, no doubt in that, but unfortunately our level of exports are not increasing. And when it comes to the government procurement, 25 to 30% of the food grain production what we are producing is procured by the government of India at MSP. Only 25 to 30% of the food grain produce is only procured by the government of India for its own purposes. I'll come to that later. And if you're really looking into this procurement activity, you can observe in that most of the procurement happens only for rice and wheat. And if you clearly observe the graph, the procurement in coarse grains and pulses and other grains is very limited compared to its production. So this is the level of production. That's what government of India is doing in the present day context. What is MSP? What are the advantages? MSP means minimum support price. Minimum support price means it is a price for the agricultural produce announced by the government of India at the starting of a sowing season to assure the farmer that at any cost government is going to procure at the minimum level of this price. That is what minimum support price. Minimum support price is an assurance by the government of India at any cost they are going to procure at the minimum of MSP, from the farmers. What are the advantages? The main advantage of MSP is if the government has fixed a minimum price, then then farmers can directly sell to the government at this rate. At the same time, they cannot be exploited by the private people because government is assuring a minimum level of price support. Another advantage is this MSP will act like a minimum benchmark for the private sector so that they cannot broad their so that they cannot broad the agricultural produce price less than this MSP, because the farmers have an every opportunity to directly go to the government. Suppose if the private people want to reduce that price below the MSP, then definitely farmer have an option and he can directly go to the government and he can sell. This is the advantage. What is the government procurement system? Government procurement system means Government of India through its agencies like Food Corporation of India procures the food grain from the farmers at the minimum of MSP. That means they will provide minimum MSP price for its own requirement. And why government is procuring the food grain from the farmers at MSP? Government is procuring because it has its own obligation under National Food Security Act. Now, under National Food Security Act, 70% of the population in rural area and 50% of the population in urban area will get a subsidized food grains of 5 kg per person per month. In order to meet that requirement, Government of India procures the food grains from the farmers at MSP, at the minimum of MSP, through its agencies. This process we will call it as public procurement or the procurement system by the Government of India. Why do you need private players in the procurement process? If you're really looking into the procurement process that the Government of India is doing, I have given the figure already. 25 to 30% of the food grains only procured by the government. First point. Second point is, in that only rice and wheat is a major share of the procurement process of the Government of India. Third point is, though the government is announcing an MSP for 22 crops, but this MSP is strictly applicable only to the 6 to 10% of the farmers, and that too they are procuring only for rice and wheat, and remaining crops are unfortunately not procured by the governmental agencies to that extent like what we are doing with rice and wheat. Next point is, I have given the figure like what is the level of agricultural production in India. It is around 20 lakh crore. And can we expect the government to spend that 20 lakh crore to procure from the farmers? What is the budget? What is the level of resources for the Government of India? And what are the other things that the government has to spend? And if you're really looking into that figures, 30 lakh crore is our budget. In that 7 lakh crore itself is the loans. That means only 22 lakh crore. In that 2 lakh crore is from the disinvestment, and some amount is from the other sources, and hardly 17 to 18 lakh crore that we are earning from the taxation part. And how can a government can spend 20 lakh crore amount to procure from the farmers is another question that you need to understand. Next point is government has its own requirement. Beyond that, what the government can do? Can really government do business with that? Does the business of the government is only to do the business? These facts you must consider before you question yourself, does the private people really needs in this procurement process? Once you understand the constraints in the present system and with the procurement agency called the government or the Food Corporation of India, then you can understand in a better way that why you need a private player in this procurement process. And another point I want to mention here, we are stockpiling almost 8 crore tons of worth of 8 crore tons of food grains in our godowns. And unfortunately, this is lying waste. This is lying waste. And the governmental agencies are unable to export because government is not so expertise in this business. So these are the constraints that you must understand. Why there is no much diversification in agricultural production? Suppose if you want any diversification in agriculture, first of all, we must provide a market to that particular agricultural produce. If you don't provide an agricultural market, then you cannot expect the farmer to grow a different type of crop, whether it is an horticulture or any other type of the crop. Unfortunately, why it is not happening? Because the main recruitment agency is government, though to some extent even today private people are procuring, but ultimately it has to enroute through the APMC mandi. When government is procuring, they are announcing the MSP, and when they have announced the MSP for 22 crops, they are only focusing on the rice and wheat, and most of the state governments to some extent they are trying to procure, and that too their procurement process is confined to only few crops dominated by the rice and paddy. And when you have an assured price of MSP, and when you are giving an assurance to the farmers that I will procure, then there is no incentivize the farmer to go for the other crop. On the other hand, you are not allowing the private people to process, you are not allowing the private people to enter into directly agreement with the farmers, you are not opening the export market with the world market. Because of these reasons, even though whatever the aspect that I have said, some reforms has happened, but it is not a complete comprehensive reforms. So when there is no option for the outside market, when there is no option for the exports, when there is no proper option for the value addition or the processing, on the other hand, the government is completely giving an assurance on rice and wheat and they are announcing the MSP. How can we expect the farmer to go for the other crop except rice and wheat? That is the reason why today our agricultural production, if you see, almost 220 million tons out of 285 million tons is only rice and wheat. It is beyond our level. It is beyond our level. And that too, our consumption criteria is completely changing, and people are now moving towards the cereals, pulses, millets, and even egg and other protein related food and milk and dairy products. On the other hand, lot of amount of food grains are just lying down in the FCI godowns. On the other hand, you don't have an incentive mechanism for the farmers to diversify their produce.